Good evening, everybody. Gumba Malgan, Gumba Nani Ginandu, which is good evening. It's good to see you here in Burragum, which is the traditional language of the community that I grew up on the Darling Downs. I'm Vicky McDonald, and it's my great privilege to be the State Librarian and CEO here at the State Library of Queensland. And I welcome you to a very uplifting Game Changers conversation with the co-founders of TradeMutt. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their continuing connection to land and as custodians of stories for millennia. At State Library of Queensland, we are inspired by this tradition in our work to share and preserve Queensland's memory for future generations. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our speakers, Daniel Allen and Ed Ross, who are sitting here in the front row from TradeMutt, who you've all come to see today. Our facilitator, Dr. Ruth Knight from Yalari and QUT, Professor Cameron Newton from QUT, members of the Library Board of Queensland, the Queensland Library Foundation Council, Queensland Business Leaders Hall of Fame, Management Committee and Induction Committee. Also representatives from our founding partner QUT, and also a special welcome to our generous sponsors and partners, Pitcher Partners, Channel 7, Morgans, Ray White and the Springfield City Group. And also friends and the audience joining us both online and in person here in the auditorium at State Library of Queensland. Thank you for joining us this evening. The latest national study of mental health and wellbeing found that from 2020 to 2022, nearly a quarter of Queenslanders aged 16 to 85 years experienced a mental disorder in the past 12 months. Mental health struggles are not new, and diaries and letters in our collections tell countless stories of human frailty. A young mother living in remote Queensland around 100 years ago wrote to thank the Brisbane-based Bush Book Club for a bundle of books and magazines she had just received. She wrote, "I had to take 3 small children and the washing 1.5 miles to the dams. When I returned, the untidy house met my gaze. The children were tired and oh so dirty. The unwashed breakfast things looked so hopeless, and I was pretty tired of it all. Then your parcel came, and I just sat down in the middle of the mess and read. And I read until the world looked bright pink." Tonight, Daniel and Ed will share their own stories of struggle, support and connection. We will learn about the early days of TradeMutt and how it has grown into a highly successful workwear brand that encourages open conversations about mental health. So to introduce our guests, Daniel Allen began his working life as a carpenter. After he lost a dear friend to suicide, Dan shared his grief with fellow tradie Ed Ross. This heartbreaking conversation would become the start of TradeMutt and TX. Ed Ross was born and bred in Longreach, Queensland, where he grew up on sheep and cattle stations. After working on one of the largest cattle stations in the world, Ed took on mature age carpentry apprenticeship and met Dan, and TradeMutt became reality. Game Changers is also delighted to welcome back Dr. Ruth Knight to facilitate this evening's conversation, which is her third Game Changers event. So welcome back, Ruth. Ruth is a researcher, educator and fundraising professional whose career has been shaped by a deep curiosity about what makes communities thrive. With a background in social enterprise and community development, she is passionate about the power of philanthropy and cross-sector collaboration to drive systems change and social impact. Thanks to TradeMutt, one lucky attendee this evening in the audience on site will win a TradeMutt shirt. So I'm sure it'll be very competitive to get that. And Ruth will reveal the winner at the end of the evening. So Game Changers, of course, is a Queensland Business Leaders Hall of Fame initiative made possible through the partnership of State Library of Queensland and QUT. Now, if you're sharing your thoughts about tonight's conversation on social media, we encourage you to use the hashtag QBLHOF, and we'll also be using Slido to collect questions from online viewers as well as those who are in the audience here tonight. So if you go to slido.com and enter the event code QBLHOF, or simply scan the QR code which is on the screen there. You'll be taken through to the questions on the event. So it's really good, Slido. You can see what other people are putting in the questions, and you can also vote. And the questions with the most votes go to the top, and that's what Ruth will use to lead the Q&A session. Before you leave this evening, I also do encourage you to visit our latest exhibition on level 2, The Unbroken Spirit of the Kalkadoons, and the gallery will be open later this evening, so you can look at it. I also I'm proud to say that the exhibition was a recipient of the Queensland Government Reconciliation Award last week in the education category, so we're very proud of this particular exhibition. But for tonight, I encourage you to enjoy the conversation. So over to you, Ruth.
Excellent. Thank you so much. While Ed and Dan come and join me, I do want you to all get out your phones now and go and join Slido. I am sure that you're all going to have some questions, and if you're joining us on the live stream, you're also happy and willing to come on and join us on Slido as well. So this is your way to participate in this conversation. And we really do want to hear your questions, and we're going to get to a few of them. As Vicky said, I can see the Slido down here, so we might not have time for everybody's question, but we definitely want to get to quite a few. So as long as you're pushing them through to Slido, we can see them and we'll get the conversation going. So thank you for participating. First of all, I do want to say before we get talking is that we may actually talk about suicide and mental health tonight. That's probably a given. And so I just want to say that if you want to chat or you know someone who needs to talk about mental health or suicide after today, just reach out. There's always people out there to help and support you, so always feel free to reach out. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. And social enterprise, as Vicky said, is really, it's a big interest for me. I've been following your story for many, many years. And yes, I have a shirt and I have a TradeMutt beanie as well, which I'll put on later just to show you how good it is. So I've been following your story for many years, but there may be people here, and thanks everybody for coming tonight. It's really lovely to see you in the room. There may be people in the room or on the live stream that don't know much about TradeMutt. So I thought maybe we'd start with, when was the moment that you decided to start a business called TradeMutt? Give us a bit of history and how it all started.
I think it was a series of moments, Ruth. And it's a pleasure to be here tonight and to have an engaged audience. Normally when we come out and speak, we're in rooms full of people who are forced to be there. So to have a room of people who have willingly come to have a listen to us is quite humbling. So, a series of moments, I think, that as I like to frame it, stepping stones right the way, throughout both of our lives that ended us up together and to be, meeting on site. We don't have enough time to go into the backstory of how, we came to meet. But, there was a day where we started working for a builder together on the same day as each other. And as the two new blokes, we got lumped together. And we were given the tasks that no one else on site, the tasks that you give the new blokes. I can't really go into the details. Normally when we're talking to a blue-collar audience, we can speak a little bit more, not quite so polished. Natural. But anyway, we'll try to keep it, And we just formed a little bond on site. There was a little flame that was lit that day when we met on site. A little bromance started that day, and what's led to I would say a marriage. And thankfully, Ed's in 2 marriages actually. So he's got me on one side and his wife on the other, and we both have to put up with the same nonsense from the big fella. So we used to just talk about a whole bunch of ideas, myself and Ed. We would work hard together, and we built a strong work ethic together on the building site. And I'd say that's where we built the trust and the relationship that has carried us through to today is the work that we used to do on site together. A lot of testing times, but an idea for workwear was just a discussion, probably after a big weekend or something like that. And we just thought, why has no one ever changed high-vis workwear? Been wearing the same high-vis workwear to work since they built the bloody pyramids, So we just kind of felt like, it would be good to jazz up workwear a little bit. And there's a couple of fashionistas like us. We, thought, well, but that was just an idea that we never really, put any effort towards. And there was obviously a real turning point for the two of us when it comes to the mental health side of the story. And it was the day when we were both working on a site together in Kenmore on a job. And Ed was on the ground cutting cement sheets, and I was up on top of a ladder, and my phone rang, and it was my mate Dan. And he was bouncing through the phone and saying to me, "Mate, you'll never believe it, I've just landed a mature age carpentry apprenticeship." And Ed, through the noise of his power saw, could basically hear his elation. And it was a huge moment for my mate Dan, because he'd been through a bit, and it was a real turning point. And it was one of those moments where it was like, yeah, righto, finally things are looking up, here we go, And the reason why, I guess I'll never forget that day was because the next phone call that I got was 3 days later on a Sunday morning to let me know that Dan had tragically taken his life the night before. And it was a very confusing period of time. It was a confusing experience to go through, and it was my first experience with losing someone like that. Very confusing. I went through the grief and loss, and the sadness, the shock, the confusion, the anger, which was something I wasn't expecting. And it changed the dynamic of mine and Ed's conversations from that day on. And we started to look at the mental health space from that point. We had conversations about advertising that we'd seen, which was probably not that appealing. We'd seen, the bus stop shelters, I think, that were advertising mental health with, a dimly lit room and a sad-looking bloke with his head in his hands, the blinds pulled, trying to personify depression. Whilst that may be exactly what it feels like internally, we felt that maybe something needed to be done to just flip the script or the advertising on the way it was being sold to us. And so those conversations led to a few more conversations, and we were working 7 days a week at the time. We were doing cashies on the weekend. We'd work for our builder Monday to Friday, then we'd knock off and do cashies after work and make noise till all hours. And so we saved a bit of money together, and we thought we wanted to have a crack at a business. And having been through that experience of losing a mate, 12 months later, we thought, why don't we have a crack at, making some funky workwear? And it was once we went on that journey of designing our first work shirts that we learnt about social enterprise, which is not a model of business that we knew anything about. And, kind of thought, well, it'd be great if we could use this funky workwear as a way to, start some conversations about mental health, and as a bit of, in memory and tribute to my mate and that kind of stuff. And it just took on a life of its own from that moment. So then 15th of March 2018, we ended up on Channel 7 News, looking like the two biggest idiots you've ever seen. And somehow, here we are today. So I don't know if I've nailed your question there, Ruth, but there's a few moments that just, stepping stones along the way that, we kept following the feeling, I guess. And our problem-solving nature, I think it was, bred into us on site is what's carried us through.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's fantastic. So Ed, maybe tell us a little bit about why you have on the back of your shirts, this is a conversation starter, because not only are the bright colours and the actual, the look of your wear is very, you could spot it a mile away.
Yeah.
But why is it that you have this is a conversation starter on the back? What's that about?
Well, it's actually a bit of a long-winded story. When we first started, we were working with an organisation here in Brisbane who had that branding, which is this conversation starter, and it was kind of what was it? It was like comedy and music. It was kind of like this idea of doing an art activation type thing to get people talking. We're like, okay, that's a good opportunity for us to lean on that mental health, get people outside doing some stuff. Anyway, we launched with TradeMutt, and as Dan said, it kind of just took off on us. And got to the point where we're like, rightio, well, we need to make this thing happen. And they were like, I don't think we're going to be able to get this project off the ground. And we were like, shit, we got a lot of shirts with this logo on the back that we don't own. We've got to do something. And so we just had to acquire the logo, basically, because it's everything suited what we're doing, right? The shirts were conversation starters by logo. So it just makes sense for us just to retain this thing. And then thankfully we did, because then that's what the acronym for TACS then became, which is the free counselling service that we ended up creating or have created. And so, it's just a part of our branding. Like, it's just, I don't know, we've kind of got there's two trains of thought. We may be able to sell 10 times more shirts if it wasn't on the back, maybe. But it's just so synonymous with what we do, and it's such a strong point of what we're about, that, every product that we make has got that branding on it, and it's so iconic. There's people that always talking about, lining up for coffee or fueling the car up or being at a footy game.
Yeah.
Someone's tapping them on the shoulder and said, mate, what's the go with the shirt?
Yeah.
Just goes from there. So it's something that, it'll be on every bit of cotton we ever sell, until the dream's over, I reckon.
It's we say it's the instruction manual sewn across the back. It's not already bleedingly obvious by the print. So
But that's the full history of the logo.
Yeah, that's
actually
great.
It was a funny story. My housemate Mark, when I first got engaged, and my wife and I were living with another fella, Mark, and anyway, it's where we launched TradeMutt in the share house. Anyway, I was just there on my computer one night after work, and Dan and I had the logo that had been sent through from these guys, and I was like, oh sweet, this is the logo. Literally about to send it off to China and be like, print 1,500 shirts. My housemate just puts his head over my shoulder and goes, that's spelt wrong. It said conversation starter.
Oh.
So I was literally about 5 minutes away from enter, send, let's go. And it was, hilarious. Anyway, so we're very close to a pretty large manufacturing fault from the get-go. Anyway, so he saved us, old Marcos.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's been lots of learnings along the way, and I want to come back to that. And I also want to talk in a few minutes about TX and talk a little bit more about that. But let me just ask, you've talked about this friendship then that you developed, and you've started this business together, and you're now going on a few years. So tell me a little bit about this bromance, this friendship, and let me know, has it changed you in any way? What have you learnt about each other through starting a business together that really means something important to you both?
I've learnt more about relationships from this one than any other relationship that I've ever been in my life. They say communication is key. It is absolutely the case for the two of us. We've had our highs, we've had our lows. We know how to push each other's buttons.
Which we don't do much of anymore, unfortunately.
Because we've got so much on our plate,
on.
we don't need any more drama, you know what I mean? So, but sometimes we like to spice it up a bit. So, the thing that's carried us through has been our sense of humour, and I think that will be a test as to the strength of the relationship forever. Because if we're not making each other laugh, then something's drastically broken. So that's been, I think, a cornerstone for myself and Ed. I mean, I'm originally from Sydney, in the western suburbs. Ed comes from sheep and cattle properties in Longreach. There wouldn't be too many reasons why two blokes like us would meet. But the sense of humour is a thing that has bonded us together. We're opposite in so many ways, and we're the same in so many ways. And we know how to pick each other up when one's down. And it's one that I'm very proud of, and I think there's no two ways around it that we wouldn't be here today. None of what we've built would be possible without the two of us. So, there's a lot of love there.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I mean, I'll probably get emotional talking about it. I always cry. But, the relationship that we've got is a relationship that I'll never have again. It's one that's just built on so much time and so much trust and transparency. And, we wouldn't ever be here, and the brand and the business wouldn't be here if we hadn't continued to work and get to where we are. I remember chatting about our relationship with my psych 18 months, 2 years ago, and he's like, if you boys can make this work, it's the strongest, most amazing relationship you'll ever have in your life. And it is, it's incredible. And I'm so, happy that we are who we are, and we've got each other, and we're on this journey together. It's pretty amazing.
Where are the tissues?
You're well. I was going to say, you can hug it out, guys.
Yeah.
This is
don't
a
worry.
safe space.
I renewed my vows, not with him, with my wife the other day, and we had best man and maid of honour and stuff all came again, so we had a long lunch, and I'd written this speech, and Dan goes, oh, you're written this speech? He goes, are you going to cry? I was like, no. I started first word, bang. I was like, oh, no. Anyway, so I get a bit emotional, but it does mean so much. It's incredible.
Yeah. But mental health is about being sometimes emotional and talking about how you're feelings, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to do that yourselves.
We've learned to practice what we preach very much. So which is an interesting point which we might touch on, being the business of mental health, but being on our own mental health journeys ourselves and growth journeys, because one thing that you learn is just, because you advocate for a cause, or you might be in the business of a cause, you're not immune to experiencing the same challenges that we all go through. And that's been something that we talk about openly. We make a point of ensuring that we connect with audiences where we can about just that very reality.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the brand, because you have clearly now grown a brand that people are getting behind. Like, I have a shirt, and I'm not a tradie. Many people, and I can see even shirts in the audience, which is fantastic. I know many people that love your shirts and love what it stands for and the vision behind it and the values behind it. Why do you think so many people are now getting on board? Why are you growing your business so well? And I love walking down the streets and just seeing people wear your shirts, because I can spot it a long way away now,
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, I think. I think there's so many things within this business that we've just tripped and fell into without any planning. And one of them is that we've built a community of like-minded individuals, be it blue collar adjacent, teachers, anyone. Yeah. It's just people all over the country that are getting behind it because of the story and what it stands behind, and the story that we're sharing and the impact that we're also making in the community. I think one thing that we've been, it's been like a reframe, I suppose, for both of us over the years, is that like we've always been so driven to get TX off the ground, get it going, and like making the 50% donation like every year. But we've obviously still doing it, but the real change is actually happening with the shirts just being worn out and about. Like, that's where most of the impact's being made. People obviously reaching out and using TX as well is the secondary part. Like, it's just the next bit. And so, we were invited to speak on a lecture with the USQ on Monday night, and there was the lecturer on there was talking about how she's got a shirt, and she's uni lecturer, and she wore the shirt. Funky Shirt Friday a couple of weeks ago, and had 3 interactions during the day, and walked through all those interactions. And I was just like, again, it's just a shirt with a different coloured bit of cotton and a logo on the back. Yeah. But it's what it stands for and what people are bought in. And again, it's like you see someone in a shirt, you don't even need to say anything, you just give them a nod or shuck her out the window or a bit of a wave. And it's just that I see you, you see me, how good. And it's amazing. So it's something we've, again, tripped and fallen into, just storytelling and people buying in on what we're doing.
And if I can add to that, I love brand stuff. I love going deep into our community and the meaning behind it all. I love the depth of meaning that we like to convey in everything. And I think there's one thing that has become more and more obvious as we've gone on this journey, and it's that, we all know the conversations about, how digitally connected we are, but, sort of socially isolated or disconnected we feel from people. And with something as simple as a shirt, you can know more about a person without having a conversation with them than you know about so many people in your life. It's about conveying your values on your heart and on your sleeves, It's about showing to the world something that you stand for, a little bit more about you without even having a conversation. You can see someone in a TradeMutt shirt and understand that they value, openness and vulnerability, compassionate, non-judgmental conversations, standing for something bigger than they are as well. So you can just learn a lot about a person in a TradeMutt shirt without even having a conversation with them. And I really like that. I like that. And hopefully in those moments, in that moment of recognition, not only can you sort of have those thoughts, but there's a little internal moment where you kind of reflect on your own values and your own mental health and well-being as well. So, I like that a lot.
Yeah. I remember the first time I wore my shirt up on the train from the Gold Coast coming up to uni up here. And I'm not a traditionally very colourful person, but so I felt very self-conscious initially. I was like, it's so bright, everybody can see me, right? But you know what? I felt after a few minutes, I started to go, I'm proud of this. I'm actually proud. This is going to make me emotional now.
Yeah.
The fact that I am, as you said, buying into that story and those values of I want to be seen. I want to be seen to be wearing a TradeMutt shirt because I know what it means to people around me, and I know what it means to people who have poor mental health and need to know that people care.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that.
Awesome, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. I do follow your socials quite a bit because it's very happy. It's you two having a lot of fun a lot of the time, right?
Trying to.
So if any
Marketing.
Of you, is that all you do? Just have fun doing
goodness.
social
Yeah,
media?
that's it, Ruth.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
Thank God for marketing, yeah.
So you do have a lot of fun there, but also on your socials you share some of those stories of impact.
Yep.
And I was reading one the other day about a lady who had lost her husband to suicide and said she owns 4 shirts and she loves wearing her shirts because it's a way of her being able to stand up for something that she feels obviously really passionate about now because she lost her own husband. And so again, you're giving people a way of really saying what they want to say to people about suicide and mental health. That's amazing.
And that's not something that, back in 2017 when we were hand colouring in our first shirt designs, which looked like Melbourne Cup silks than work shirts, we didn't understand that was going to be one of the outcomes. We didn't understand that people were going to be able to take ownership of their own lives and situations that they've been through because of a colourful shirt.
Yeah.
And it is powerful, and it floors us. It rocks us. Like when we hear those stories, so much so that we have to practice a bit of detachment or compartmentalise some of the stories that we do here because it can be easy to take it on and carry it, but to be able to give anyone an outlet to share their journey and share their story is something that, again, we're really proud of because, everyone has a story and every story is worth sharing. If you can't share it, with your mates or your loved ones around you, well, I guess TX is one of those options for us where people can share their stories because that's what it's all about,
So tell us a bit more about TX then. We've mentioned it a couple of times. What's the relationship between TradeMutt and TX, and what's TX all about? Why did you believe that was so important?
Yeah. So it's so TX is the other organisation that Dan and I both co-founded. So we just shared the story just today, actually, or yesterday on the socials. The shorts version really is that when we'd launched TradeMutt, obviously social enterprise, the logo that we had, what we were originally going to do wasn't going to happen. So we're like, rightio, we need to find a social change organisation or non-profit we can invest our money into. And so we looked at all the traditional ones that were out there and we kind of said, wow, they're all really heavily funded by government. Most of them are crisis, or they're awareness-based. And we're already raising heaps of awareness, so we don't need any more of that. So the crisis stuff seems too far away, and any money we give, there's a drop in the ocean. So we're like, wonder if we can do something that's a little bit more preventative. And then we had Anthony Bourdain took his life on my birthday in 2018. It was 8th of June 2018. So we had a guy, Russ, who we were working with. He was the guy that got us into China and manufacturing. And he saw someone had posted on a page about Anthony Bourdain taking his life, and someone commented on there and said, this is where I'm headed, like a cry for help, basically. And so Russ reached out to him naturally and said, hey, mate, do you want to chat here, blah, blah, blah. So they connected, and he was just a tradie from out of Brisbane, going through financial trouble, busted up with the missus, and just wasn't going well. And Russ is telling us his story about how this guy had, reached out to this other non-profit and hadn't heard back, and we just sort of threw our hands in the air and said, right, well, this is the whole problem, because when someone does need that next step, they don't know where to go. And these existing brands, some of them aren't doing what they think they need. So we were like, righto, maybe we can fix this, another problem to solve. And we looked at the landscape and were like, well, to get access to early intervention mental health support, it's arduous. You've got to take time off work, see a doctor, get a mental health plan, find a psych or a counsellor, book in. There's all these really long, arduous tasks to go through, and it's easy to fall off at any stage, and especially for blokes, like they're just going to be, go get a carton of beer and just go home and have a drink. So we're like, right, we need to make it as easy as possible for people to access professional support. So we just went down to Woolies and bought a burner phone Hired a psychologist and said if it rings, answer it.
No governance.
No governance.
No model of care.
We had the DGR status for the charity and that was it. And then the phone rang again on my birthday 2020 and it was a bloke on a building site in Brisbane just basically having a panic attack and just didn't know what was going on. And Nat, our psych at the time, chatted to him and got him home that night. And since then, we've been able to build TX into it's the leading blue-collar counselling service in Australia. We've got 11 counsellors on the books. We're supporting 550 blue-collar workers and their loved ones a quarter. On average, having 4 sessions with the same counsellor. So, yeah, making some pretty profound impact now in the community, which is amazing. And it's an 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. service. It's early intervention. It's never going to be crisis. It's never going to be 24 hours a day. It's very much like I was talking about my psych earlier. Like I see the same dude. When you ring TX, you're talking to the same person. Yeah. So you're not repeating a story over and over again. It's just like any professional counselling service in the country. It's just on phone,
and
by
it's free.
text, and it's free. Yeah,
that's cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Which has been a journey in and of itself. I mean, yeah, when we rang up to get the insurance, and we're the directors of the business, they were like, righto, what are their qualifications? We said Cert 3 in carpentry and joinery. They thought we were taking the piss, and we're like, anyway, so got the insurance, thankfully, I don't know how. And then, we've been able to build it out now to something that's, it's way out of our pay grade. Like, we've got Sue, who's our CEO, and she's built a model of care that's, there'd be a lot of organisations in the country that'd love to have the same governance and rigour and, structure around, their organisation. And we're just so fortunate to have amazing people working for us that are doing incredible work and allowing us to, come up with a harebrained big ideas and then go and execute and bring those to life. So it's pretty cool.
So if I'm a tradie on a trade site, on a work site somewhere...
What trade would you be?
What would I be? Yeah, I'd be... I love carpentry. So, it would have to be
King of the
carpentry.
trade, Ruth.
Good answer.
But I'm a tradie, someone comes up to me or I recognise that they need some help, they need to know about TX. How do I put them in touch with them?
If you're wearing your TradeMutt shirt, you can just pop your pocket, you have a little scan.
Like that.
Yeah.
How far can anyone scan it from there? Go on, so there you go. I haven't ironed my shirt today. Actually, we never iron our shirts.
No.
Do we?
You have so thought about tradies in that moment.
Yeah, just simplifying it. As much as we can.
Thankfully, COVID,
came along,
came along, and we're all
codes,
familiar with QR codes now. So, just a simple little woven QR code under that shirt pocket to make that connection as easy as possible. So
that's brilliant. Well, let's just pause for a couple of questions because we have got some questions coming through, and I did see one that said, how many types of gear can I have? How many is too much? Asking for a friend.
It depends on your financial situation, I think.
Okay, so there's one.
Don't want to overcook it.
Let's get into this. Actually, I like this one. So we make all sorts of things: hats, shirts, accessories, stubby coolers, whatever. It's a bit of a fashion faux pas in our world if you wear the hat, the matching print
it's
hat,
banned in our
and
office.
the shirt,
and
right,
if you wear the full kit.
But in saying that, each to their own, right? So I don't think there's any limit to that.
But I can have
that
the lunch
question.
bag.
Lunch purse.
Yeah, lunch
The
purse.
lunch purse.
That's it.
Okay.
Hardcore lunch
Yeah, the
purse.
beanie.
Yeah. So we.
And now we've got flannelette as well.
Flanos,
Yeah.
You're just branching out everywhere.
Yeah, we're going mad.
I know. You're in hospitals.
Scrubs. We've got some great scrubs. Yeah.
You're on trucks.
Yeah.
That's something we didn't see
vehicles.
coming, I tell you.
Not our heads.
Yeah. Well, this one I'm wearing was a collaboration print with Mack trucks. Surely everyone knows Mack trucks, right? And they just, with this print that we made for them, and said, "Can we wrap a truck in it?" And we're like, "Go for it."
Yeah, it was
go
parked
nuts.
outside
So
the
they just
train station here the other day.
We've got customers who wrap their vehicles in our prints, and they spread it around the countryside. It's pretty amazing advertising. that's probably any brand's dream for people to want to be wrapping their vehicles and their motorbikes and their trucks in our prints. So, yeah. It's a few
But I
trucks on
also
the
read
road.
a story on your socials that said somebody saw one of your vehicles, or it could have been, I don't know if it was your vehicle, but actually saw about TX on a vehicle and contacted
Yeah.
TX because they saw it on a vehicle at the lights. They were at the lights or something.
Yeah.
Took a quick
Get,
shot.
get plenty of shuckers out the window.
I think, they were. Hopefully, we were stopped. They obviously pulled their phone out while they were driving, so hopefully, we're at an intersection. Do not condone, but as long as they got the help they needed, that's fantastic. So, the utes are a fairly loud billboard, so no road rage when we're driving around. It's all very sensible driving most of the time.
So someone in the audience has come up with a brilliant idea. They're asking you, what about ties?
We've done them. We've done them. We just don't have any at the moment.
We've done them. We
we've
do
done
ties, bow
do
tie
ties?
sets. Yeah, we've done ties and bow tie sets.
Pocket squares who no one knows how to fold.
Yeah, wear them for formal occasions. So there's no limit, to be honest, to the
Yeah.
suggestions that we've had come through. But we try to stay focused.
And how
on
do
it.
you design the actual design? Like, where does the inspiration come from?
Thankfully, not us
Not us,
anymore.
yeah.
So yeah,
We've got two in-house designers. We've got Iris and Ari working for us, and they do an incredible job. So Ari does majority of our custom work, so like the Mack trucks and everyone's work reaching out and doing a bespoke pattern, and then Iris does majority of our limited release prints, and then we've just got some collaborators that we work with as well. So
we do.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of artist collab shirts and prints, which we love. So a few Brisbane-based artists. Recently, we've had Phoebe Paradise, Kate Victoria, who have done shirts for us. So we're loving using artist collaborators to bring stories to life in shirts. So something.
yeah, it is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and a
really
great
enjoying.
question from the audience around First Nation artists and doing some First Nations prints. What do you think?
We've been asked that, I reckon, since day one, and it's a tricky one to traverse.
So we've done a lot of Indigenous prints for organisations who have got RAP plans and taking the right approach. We've been asked a lot if we will do it. The reality is with TAX and with our model of shirt starting conversations and help seeking support through TAX. I mean, we don't have any culturally trained counsellors to be able to deal with cultural and generational traumas, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So realistically, our impact model at the moment really doesn't facilitate doing that properly.
Yeah.
And so for us to be able to do it that way, we would want to stand behind exactly
It'd be
how we can do it.
disingenuous for us to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just for our values. We're just like,
They would sell very well.
We'd sell
though, Mike.
They
yeah,
heaps of them, but it's
yeah.
not. Yeah, it's just not
Yeah,
going to do
yeah.
what.
Yeah. One
So
day.
you know your brand, you know your values, you know what you're doing at the moment, which is awesome. But there's a lot of people getting behind you and behind your brand. Tell me another story that really resonates with you about the impact. As you said, you're talking about impact. What is a really beautiful story that you just can't forget because it talks to the impact that this brand has?
Yeah. Well, the one that always sits with me was just Dan and I working in our first little office in East Brisbane, wasn't it? Yeah, and Dan was away somewhere. I can't remember where he was that morning, but I got a email through from someone that was telling me about a father and son who lived down in central New South Wales, and a few years previous to that, they'd lost. This husband lost his wife, and son had lost a mother, and he was kind of mid-teens when that had all happened. And they'd never really had it out and talked about how that had affected both of them. And the son bought a shirt, one of our original ones, the FAF, and wore it home. And the old man said, "Mate, what's the go with that hideous shirt, shit house?" And he said, "Dad, can you sit down? I want to have a yarn with you." And they just had it out for a few hours. And that just always hits me because it's like there's no right of us being involved in making that happen, and no, again, preconceived idea of being like, look, like this is impact we'd be able to make. But yeah, a shirt with a bit of cotton that looked different was enough to have such a life-changing moment for that family. So that's really, something really special.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. In fact, there's a question from the audience here that said, what do you think the biggest barrier is to starting that important conversation? So tell us a bit more then. So someone's seen the shirt, let's have a conversation. What's the next step? What are your tips for someone after? What's the shirt about?
Yeah, interesting, like tips for how to have the conversation. I don't think there's any, you probably can't plan for exactly how those conversations go. I mean, when we talk about how these shirts work, from the day we started, the whole idea was that when you put on a TradeMutt shirt, you take on a responsibility to act with empathy, compassion, and always take a non-judgmental approach to any conversation you end up in. Because the fact of the matter is that we all experience life's ups and downs, and we all ride that mental health continuum, that spectrum every day, and you just don't know what someone's going through. And I mean, I can sort of gaze around the room here and connect with a few eyes, and I wonder what anyone in here tonight has got going on in their lives. And I know that for sure everyone's got something going on, if not multiple things. So the ability to take that, compassionate, non-judgmental approach, appreciative inquiry, to find out more, let that conversation naturally go where it needs to go, is a beautiful thing. And, I guess holding that space and allowing someone to feel comfortable enough to open up organically is the art. And, it takes practice, I think, sometimes. And so for people to put on a shirt and open up that space in the first place is a really powerful thing. It takes a lot to do and can happen any number of ways. And I know it's certainly happened a number of ways for me on our journey. And it's a profound experience and something that has, I think, brought a lot of growth for myself and Ed. So, empathy, compassion, always non-judgmental.
Yeah, that's great. And I suppose just like wearing the shirts, the more conversations you have, the more comfortable you can become by having that conversation and having that empathy. So it might feel awkward the first time, but as the more you do it, the more comfortable you're
I think it just normalises it. Like, I think that the strange thing, not strange thing, I think the awesome thing for us that I've noticed within, like, not only our relationship, our team, but also like my family and mateship circles, is it's like, it's just very normal for these conversations to be had, you know, talking about, I often talk about, I was at a wedding there one day and my wife and I were catching up with a mate there at the bar, and he said, what's been going on? And I was talking, blah, blah, blah. And said, we've, been to see a marriage psychologist. He's like, how was that? And we're like, it's fucking awesome. It was amazing, so good. And he's like, that's interesting. And then he rang like 2 days later. He's like, who'd you go see? And I was like, this dude, he's in Toowoomba, he's awesome. And he's like, unreal. He's like, can you send me his details and stuff like that? And I'm like, well, that's exactly it. It's just like, just normal.
Yeah.
It's like just a general conversation now. There's no hide. It's just we're just chatting. And so I think that's what's transformed the way the shirts work, I suppose, for me, and I'd say even for Dan, is that like those conversations just happening all the time now. So it's like, there's another one. It's just how we are communicating. Yeah. And so hopefully that's the same thing that we're creating at mass, nationally, when people are wearing these things.
Yeah. So game changers, which is what we're talking about tonight, are people and business leaders who are being innovative. They're doing things differently. But I'm just you're here because you're game changers. But that's made me think, should more business leaders and leaders generally, should we all be taking well-being, mental health, the importance of having good conversations about how we're going? Should that be what every business leader should be doing? Let's normalise it in every workplace.
Yeah.
We make a point of openness and vulnerability in our own workplace. Obviously, understanding time and place is key for any situation. But one thing that I think has really always sort of burred us up a bit is people of influence who talk about needing to talk about mental health, but they don't actually say anything. They just say we need to talk about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, righto, give us something. Use your opportunity, use your platform to give us something of substance. Tell us about your own experience. Tell us about something in your life that we can connect with to think, oh, you're not that different to me. Actually, we've been through the same thing, or and it's that's the bit that we're really trying to break down. And we do it socially, we do it in our workplace. We're not here to just talk about needing to talk about it. We want to actually talk about our experiences, the challenges, the ups and downs, the emotional roller coasters we've been on, those moments of vulnerability, and then the help seeking that we've been through ourselves to actually remedy those situations. It's really important.
Yeah.
So but like Ed says, all you can do is lead by example. You can't ask anyone else to do something that you're not willing to do. And so the best way that we've found is to just try to lead by example in our own actions.
Yeah, and I think the moment I remember for that conversation of there's so many people out there that are advocating for needing to talk about it and aren't talking about it was when Paul Green took his life. And I remember I was at Gari, Fraser Island, and me and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and my wife go up there every year for a week, and it happened while we were up there. And I just remember having the TV on and watching. It was like the Friday night game, and they're all the sports commentators are sitting there and they're talking about this. They're like, we've really, mental health. We've got to start talking about it. And they were just saying that same thing over and over and again. And I was like, I'm going to throw this remote control through this TV here in a second. It was just awful. And it was like if someone said something of any vulnerability there, then all of a sudden it actually means something.
Yeah.
But sadly, we're not getting enough of that, especially in the media. And hopefully we can, continue to have these types of conversations and lead, hopefully by example. I mean, we're definitely not perfect, and we don't advocate to be perfect. We're just two blokes trying to have a go, really, and try and lead the way and lead the best way we can.
Yeah.
And with what we know, and hopefully more people and business leaders can take note of that and have these types of conversations with their senior staff, their broader team, even people they're working alongside and with. So yeah.
And I just love it how you're balancing that conversation with the serious intent behind it, but you're doing it in a fun, good way. Like it's not all serious. We've got to have a talk to everybody. You're having it in a way that people connect with and feel good about. The bright branding, obviously, and your social media where you're having a lot of fun and you're encouraging people to have fun in that moment and to feel okay about talking about mental health. That's what I love.
Yeah, we're just trying to normalise it. I mean, no one, like Dan said about the bus shelter and that marketing and suicide statistics. It's like, yep, sweet, righto. We get it. We don't need any more statistics. Let's just start talking about the real stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's just what we've just tried to keep it real from the get-go.
Cool.
Really. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, let's have a look at some questions more. We've got some coming through. Oh, there is one about social media. Social media has given us the idea that we're meant to be cool, happy, put together all the time. How do we bust this myth? Well, that's kind of... Oh, okay. Don't watch you having a lot of fun and doing cool things.
Well, no, to your point, about us having fun on socials, like I always, because we, sure, we do have a bit of fun. We bomb a lot too. That's all right, though. I always make a point to say the marketing's working because that's exactly what that is. That's marketing for us. What you don't see and what is harder to share on socials is the not so pretty stuff, and there's heaps of it. There's heaps of challenges. There's heaps of conversations that we have, with each other. There's tears, there's troubles, there's,
anger and frustration.
Yeah, all of it, and so... That's just marketing. That's all I can say from our side of things is we keep it real as we can, in environments like this and in our own workplace and with our own mates and that kind of thing. But that's all just marketing. And so,
I think if there was a world that existed where we didn't have to have social media to get our brand out there, we'd happily not be on it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So another question coming through is is there a specific industry, because we talked earlier that you are branching into lots of different industries, but is there a specific industry that your gear has been most impactful? Is it still the tradies and the work sites, or is there other work sites or industries that it's having an impact on too?
I reckon teachers is one that we never foresaw. There's a lot of teachers that wear our polos and shirts, like vocational teachers and stuff like that.
We were at an event at the Gold Coast last year.
Oh, that's right.
With a whole bunch of groundsmen, greenkeepers, and bloke came up to us there and was like, I've been working at this school for however long, and the kids don't want anything to do with me. Like, I'm just this guy who's working around the place, picking up rubbish, whatever. Suddenly started wearing TradeMutt shirts. All of a sudden the kids can't stop talking to me. Now I'm mates with them, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I feel accepted by the students where otherwise I was unseen. And that was a nice little thing to,
It made him cool.
Yeah, we're cool. yeah. So apparently.
Yeah, I mean, what's your definition of cool? Right? Yeah, so I was going to say teachers as well. The healthcare industry has been a massive one. That's why we brought scrubs out. My mum's a midwife, so she was hounding us to make scrubs for a long time. And she's like, I know, they're going to sell. And I was like, I know, Mum, but, like, it's not our industry. Like, we want to stay in our lane. And in the end, it was just like, bugger it.
Right, I have some. Here you go.
Let's just do it, because Mum was a bit crook at the time. And I was like, well, I'd kick myself if, she never got to sort TradeMutt scrubs. So, yeah, healthcare has been an awesome one.
Good on Mum.
Yeah,
on her.
We love her. She's a midwife. We love midwives. The way it's reached far and wide it's blown us away. When it comes to industries, for say TX and the TX data that we have, construction, 40% of people who use TX are coming from construction, identify as coming from construction, but, we're tapping into transport, farming and agriculture. We've had 75-year-old farmers reach out for counselling sessions, and that's the cohort that everyone tells us don't talk, So, yeah, we've just loved sort of sitting back to a degree and watching how it's impacted different industries and lives. And, now with where TX is at and the data that we're collecting, de-identified data, I should say, it's telling a really, really great narrative of where the impact is happening, but also where we need to take it. So,
So tell us about then the plans for the future. Have you got some clear plans? Where are you taking TradeMutt? Where is it going? What's up around the corner?
We dip and duck our way through big picture thinking, then back into the weeds every day. So, Ed's dream was always to overhear a conversation at a pub of a mate telling another mate, that they've used this great service TX and that they should try it. For us, a big picture vision for, our ecosystem is we've got a few plans in the works at the moment for some complementary organisations because we're not busy enough at the moment. So we just thought we'd, build a training organisation and, with a grand master plan to put high performance blue collar wellbeing hubs in every capital city of the country. Yeah. Hopefully, we can leverage our partnership with Bunnings to be able to, they've got heaps of space and, build some big warehouses alongside Bunnings. So it's a bit of a big picture vision for us as, workwear, TradeMutt. It opened our eyes to the opportunity to be able to create TX, TradeMutt and TX together. And what we've been able to achieve there has given us the opportunity to think, big picture and how we'd like to go. And so we've got some pretty big aspirations to change the blue collar landscape and an industry that, is an ageing industry, massive skills shortage in blue collar industries and construction. So we want to do our part to bring back a bit of appeal to the trades and make it appealing for young people to come and join and get in there. So,
Yeah, awesome. Anything to add?
Yeah, it's a bit on, yeah. Bit on. But I think we're at a position now, like Dan said, where, with TradeMutt and TX, we've kind of, I wouldn't say we've earned the right, but we can see that there's more to be done. And so, we're very much of, okay, there's more we can do, we've identified, and we should do it because, why not?
We feel that responsibility for sure. I would say because the TradeMutt thing, even TX, like Ed said earlier, it is the best blue collar counselling service in the country. It's also the only blue collar counselling service in the country, so it's an automatic best on that one. But it's so much bigger than us.
Yep.
And so we have a responsibility to nurture it to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And we feel that responsibility, we feel that pressure, but we're hungry to keep problem solving our way through it.
Yeah, brilliant. Again, your values feel very strong. It's you. It feels like you're thinking all the time about that impact. and how you're using business to create that impact, which is what social enterprise is all about, which is fantastic. Just following on from that question, somebody from the audience has said, what are your plans for the Olympics?
Cool.
Are we going to see volunteer and crew in TradeMutt gear at the Olympics?
Let's see a sod turn first. I think we'll wait and see. I think they got the logo out. Yeah, we'll wait. But
We'll
yeah,
wait.
I mean, yeah, we'll make some
Why
shirts.
not? Why
Yeah,
not
why
make
not?
the Brisbane 2032 Olympics the social enterprise
Our lead time's only
Olympics?
9
Yeah.
months, so we've got
Yeah.
heaps of time.
You've got a global community coming. You know, you could be going global after the Olympics.
It's a
really.
great story, isn't it? Brisbane-born social enterprise, fit out
Yeah.
the athletes, the
Yeah.
volunteers. I can see it right
Yeah.
now, so why not? Hopefully, if we make enough noise,
Get out and a set of TradeMutt.
if you can catch him.
Great.
So tell me a little bit about then, you've got lots of planning and there's lots going on, but how do you keep yourself grounded as well? All right, so we're talking obviously about mental health, but just generally, how do you keep yourself in a social enterprise, which isn't just a business, you're making all this impact, you're talking to all these people about a very serious subject. How do you make sure that you keep yourself grounded and you don't sort of, you know, lose your mind in terms of all of that? Like, how do you make sure
Yeah.
that you're sticking to your...
I think it's through, like it's kind of through the repetitions now. Like we've been through those periods of that, getting taken in all these different directions. And I think actually one of the biggest mistakes that you make early on in most businesses is you listen to too many people.
Yeah.
You take on too much stuff and you're like, oh, I got to do all this extra shit. It's like, no,
Yeah.
just focus on this thing. And
Yeah.
like for TradeMutt, we did that way too much. You know, just, you know, make this product, should do this, come to this event, do, you know, and it's like you feel obligated, but it's just, you got to learn to say no.
Yeah.
And so for us, we're pretty good at that now. So like for TradeMutt, we know what it is, social impact workwear brand. We make amazing workwear products and accessories for businesses and individuals to wear. Funky Shirt Friday, spread the message.
Yeah.
50% of the profits go to TX, home of blue collar counselling. It's the best. Head
Yeah.
noise specialists. We do awesome counselling. We don't go out and door knock, and we don't fundraise and rattle tins. We don't, you know, go out and do toolbox talks. People call and speak to a counsellor. And so that then allows us to then think larger picture, because we're not always going off and doing all these other things and being taken away from the main strategy and vision of both the organisations, that we can then go and have these larger level thinking, and we're not scatterbrained trying to extend ourselves everywhere. So I think that's probably how we've ended up to here, where we can breathe and say, okay, we can see the opportunities and these other things, gaps that we can fill and do it well. And then the rest of it's just being in routine and finding your individual, you know, day, people you got to lean on. So like for me and my wife, you know, like I just like to be home every night as much as we can. Obviously travel a bit, but like I said to Dan last year, I was like, let's just take our partners with us. If we go somewhere for an extended period of time, why not if they can come? So it's just stuff like that, you know, filling your own cup up and making sure you're kind of putting yourself first, because if you're not, you burn yourself out and you're useless to everyone. So you've got to kind of take that selfish element at the same time and make sure you're being able to rock up and be that best version, you know. So, and that's different for everyone.
Yeah.
That's different for
Yeah.
everyone. There's no checklist. I think like I was chatting to a guy the other day that did burn himself out, and he was like, mate, I was getting up at 4:30 and I was running for an hour and I wasn't drinking and, you know, wasn't going out on weekends. I was doing everything that they say in the book to do and just burn himself out. And it's like, well, it's everyone on social media probably tell you it's just like this checklist, but it's, you got to find what your checklist is and kind of, continue to iterate on that and make it work for you.
So Dan, what other tips would you give maybe social entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs generally, like starting businesses or even starting social enterprises? What are the tips for these people that you've learned about through your own journey that you would say, look, somebody has a vision, wants to make something happen, but what's your tips for them?
Okay, so there's a lot of great ideas out there for impact, and some awesome impact ideas for you know, social enterprise businesses. You got to make money, like first and foremost, right? So the commercial viability of your product or your idea, to be able to make the impact that you want to make, you need to, you know, be able to have a product or service or an offering that can make some money to be able to, you know, I suppose contribute or achieve those outcomes that you are shooting for. So I mean that's number one, basically. Outside of that, for us, it's just we're not like necessarily like these like hurrah entrepreneurs to trying to inspire everyone. Like we have been on our own journey of problem solving every single day, and I think for the two of us, as I said, we fostered that attitude of problem solving on site together, and Ed and I have come to understand that is the one thing that carries you through business, and your appetite to want to continue to solve those problems. I guess it just depends on how hungry you are. I think there were some good entrepreneurs they might be in the room tonight. I read recently about something along the lines of the search for profitability makes you look under rocks that no one else even know exists. Boys, we in the crowd? It's true,
Who'd you steal that quote from?
Yeah. Just, I suppose, depends how hungry you are to keep problem solving your way through it, to be honest. So,
yeah, great. Yeah, fantastic. Let me just check the time, because I'm having such a great time chatting with you that we could go on a long time. So we've got a few more minutes, and I think we'll take a few more questions from the audience. And so this is your last chance, folks. Get your questions in. We'll do a few more questions, and then we're going to have to wrap it up. What's the strangest place you've ever seen TradeMutt gear?
Strangest place?
I mean, strange. There's been some cool places. Pogo Gold Mine in Alaska. Everest Base Camp. Antarctica. Yeah, where else? We've had shirts in Russia. We've had shirts in...
No, who's the guy over... there's a guy overseas, like the roofer or something?
In South America. Where? I've lost it.
Anyway, yeah.
So a few really cool places. Some op shops. I don't know if that's a good thing.
That's full circle brand.
Yeah, someone sent us a TradeMutt shirt that was in an op shop with the tag still on, so I don't know if that's what that means.
Good donation.
That's probably a pretty strange one to
Should have
be honest.
bought it back.
Yeah.
Anyway, we didn't.
So yeah, a lot of photos that come through. Most recently, on the Queensland Police Facebook page.
Oh yeah.
There was a Did we go into this?
Some potential offender in one of our shirts.
Oh.
It's all good. It's all good PR, Ruth. It's all good PR.
We always wondered when someone would rob a bank in a TradeMutt shirt. That hasn't happened yet. I don't think people
Someone
rob
getting
banks
put
anymore.
in the back of a paddy wagon with a TradeMutt shirt on would be kind of like,
But
we've done
yeah,
it.
Queensland Police page, someone looking for an offender who had apparently exposed himself indecently in public, and he was wearing a TradeMutt shirt. So, all right, that'll start a conversation. So, yeah. Do we keep going?
Look, I guarantee that I'm going overseas to a bit of a cold climate later in the year,
That's from
and
a
I'm
few years
taking
ago,
my
that bad boy.
TradeMutt beanie.
You look like you'll end up on the Queensland
good.
Police page in that thing right now.
Yeah, I won't. So I'll send you a snap from the UK. I'll find somewhere really interesting to take a selfie of myself. Not jumping on any chairs, by the way,
No,
but that's an
goodness,
in-joke. Okay, so one or two more questions because we've got to wrap up. That's a good one. How are women in trade empowered to use TX? Is it just for men?
Exactly the same. No.
Is it just for men?
Tradies, truckies, rural,
75% of people who use TX are men. We get grouped into the men's mental health space because we're blokes and the industry is male dominated, but we're not men's mental health, we're blue collar mental health. So yeah, 24% of people who use TX are women, 1% are non-binary. So yeah, we're getting some really great uptake. Most commonly, women from the trades who are reaching out to TX are coming from FIFO. So a lot of things like isolation is a challenge out there. Relationships is the number one reason since day dot why anyone reaches out to TX. So yeah, things like travel for work and being away from your family and that strain on relationships, I'm sure, leads to a lot of both men and women reaching out. So we're getting some pretty interesting data.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, I think this one's a good one to end on is, are you still tradies and do you miss being on the tools?
I think you're always a tradie.
Always a trade.
Yeah, no, don't miss it.
based on these
Yeah, it's looking lots softer.
office hands.
Softer and cleaner than what
Still
you
a
used to.
tradie, still always a tradie. Miss it sometimes. I don't.
We have a tough day, and
Yeah.
Dan will come down, or one of us will be complaining to each other. I'm like, would you rather be outside screeding, or would you just shut up and get on with it? Let's figure it out. So there's, we're just, for us, we're just on a completely different journey. We've anticipated, and we always laugh. Like if it all goes, tits up, we'll just put the nail bag on and get back to work and stand a frame.
And even the
get
thought of
back
that
to it.
scares me because I'd be pretty rusty, to be honest, And the codes have changed. Everything's changed. I don't reckon we'd be able to. We'll be
figure
able to
it out.
front up. So yeah. Still tradies though. Proud chippies.
Fantastic, yeah. So one last thing. What would you like to, share with everyone as your last kind of moment today? Thank you for sharing so much. You've really, revealed a lot about TradeMutt and your vision and your values. But what would you like to kind of end today's conversation with?
Well, I mean, like we touched on before the whole notion of the need to talk about mental health, but not actually talking about it. But I think it's an important reflection for anyone tonight. When it comes to vulnerability and openness in your own relationships in your own lives, it's probably a reflection of your relationships. Whether you can or can't share openly. And so I'd probably encourage people to have a think about the relationships that they do foster in their own lives and whether they do feel empowered or, able to be their true selves, whether it be in the workplace or with family or friends. And if that's not the case, maybe, have a think about why. I think if we can foster those types of relationships, we can see the best versions of everyone, and then the world's your oyster from that point, I think. So, if we can get more people sharing openly in their own little worlds, that's a really good impact for us. So, and also have a crack. That's been the thing that's carried us through is just having a bloody crack, and just getting on with it. So, figuring it out, problem solving our way through, and having a laugh at the end of the day. And we never go to bed angry, the two of us. So, it's important for us.
Stop it.
Haven't renewed our vows.
Haven't renewed our
yet,
vows
so.
yet.
You're going to start crying now.
I think the one thing is Dan, talked about it when he did his TEDx talk a couple of years ago was like if you've reached out and gotten help or something's worked for you just got to tell people about it. Yeah. Share your story. Like don't think it's not worth sharing because it absolutely is. And like I've touched on tonight, me seeing my psychologist and me and my wife going and seeing a psychologist, it's like, that's the best thing that's ever happened for our marriage. Without a doubt. Dan and I going and seeing psychs together. It's been amazing for our relationship. If you've done something that's worked well for you, make sure you tell someone about it.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Can we give them a big round of applause? So before you go, we did promise that somebody in the audience would win hopefully they will wear, a TradeMutt shirt. So, can everybody drum roll?
Oh, how are we going to figure this out?
I'm going to call out a random name and you are the winner. And that person is Sherrod Blemmings. Who's that? Sherrod? Do you want to go? Come down and grab it. Okay. Now, luckily...
It's a medium scrub too. You're in luck.
Why do we bring a scrub?
Now, we thought that it was going to be just one shirt, but the boys very kindly brought some other merch along as well. So guess what? 4 more people are going to win a few more things. The first person is, we'll go backwards, Lorraine Patterson. Lorraine.
Lorraine.
Well done. Nat's going to give me the other names. Dave McNair.
Dave-o.
Yeah. The next person is Emily Krantz. Where are you, Emily? Yeah, Emily's here. And is that one more? I think there might be one more. Let's see. Is that it?
Who's on the teleprompter?
Ian Murray.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ian.
Oh, he gets a lunch first. That's the best thing in the box. Enjoy, Ian.
Yeah, you
That
take your
thing
lunch.
fits a six-pack standing up, mate, so
You're in luck.
don't tell anyone, though.
Doesn't come with
Mental
ice
health.
packs or anything, though. You got to separately.
Yeah. So thank you again. Thanks for bringing all the merch
Thanks for coming,
and the
everyone.
shirts. Thanks for sharing your story. Look, we wish you all the very best, obviously in your business, but obviously the impact that you're making. Thank you. There are so many people that honestly say thank you. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Ruth. Thank you,
Come and
everyone.
have a sit down. Put that down if you want.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Dan and Ed, for sharing an incredible journey with us tonight. Your story is a powerful reminder of how purpose and a bold idea can spark real change. Thank you also very much to Dr. Ruth Knight for facilitating such an insightful conversation without even a note in front of you to read by. Well done. Congratulations. Well done, everyone. I just want to reflect on a few takeaways from listening to this wonderful conversation, and the importance of work ethic, the importance of flipping the script and being brave in doing that, the importance of spelling. That sounds like a really good idea to run spell check. The importance of communication, a sense of humour, but really seriously the importance of acknowledging emotion and expressing them and talking it out. From an academic, I am a psychologist, from an academic and a stress researcher, believe it or not. From an academic perspective, there's this thing called support, and we call it a moderator of the effect of stress on strain. It's a brick wall. You've got a stressor, and the support acts as a brick wall so that it doesn't have a negative effect on you. That support leads to positive emotion, leads to positive thought, and is absolutely incredibly powerful in terms of the effect it has. You guys are right in the thick of it, and you have just done an incredible job. Thank you for your contribution to normalising conversations that matters, and most certainly also leading by example. Congratulations on your work. If you'd like to revisit tonight's discussion or share it with others, a recording will be available on the Queensland Business Leaders Hall of Fame website within the next week. On behalf of the founding partners, QUT and the State Library of Queensland, I'd like to extend our sincere thanks to our sponsors, Pitcher Partners, Channel 7, Morgans, Ray White and Springfield City Group. Your support makes it possible to continue celebrating Queensland's most impactful business leaders, like the team behind TradeMutt, who are using business for a force of good. As we wrap up, please feel free to exit via the rear doors or the front doors. That might have changed. Is it the rear doors? It's just the rear doors. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Of me, because it was my job to thank Pauline and Bella, the Auslan interpreters, tonight. So I just wanted to thank you so much for all you've done tonight. Thank you very much.
So, website, how can we purchase the merchandise?
How do we purchase the merchandise? On the website.
Yes. Scan whoever just got a free things QR code.
Go to the website. It's all there.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.